Returning to my channel, Coin Lady, I want to say hello to all of you. Not much has happened in the news recently. The SEC was unsuccessful in two distinct instances decided by the Supreme Court yesterday. Coinbase sued the SEC, and you'll love to see the lawsuit. Gary Gibbons and your old Gare Bear aren't having a good day. Today was not great. Perhaps there were better days, perhaps when you were younger. Unfortunately, the SEC received more terrible news in the form of yet another verdict by the Supreme Court that will affect the SEC. Several crypto-focused solicitors have expressed this view, and I will relay it to you verbatim. Let me preface this by saying that the asset mentioned at the beginning of this video, XRP's court triumph last July, has served to clarify the legal status of cryptocurrency in the US. After that pivotal event, the Supreme Court and other judges saw the enormous SEC's overreach for themselves. That overreach has been invalidated by the courts. Case by case, they've been moving closer to that. The SEC will find it increasingly difficult to bring fresh false accusations against any player in the cryptocurrency ecosystem, including those involved with XRP, due to recent events, some of which have already taken place. Remember, you'd rather not deal with fresh baseless accusations that may theoretically be leveled against any party involved, including Ripple, for whatever baseless reason? The legal certainty of XRP is resolved, but that remains a concern. To be sure, there are plenty of reasons to bring it. You have complete creative license as the SEC. You can make it, but the point is that the SEC is far less likely to try to do so, given that they've suffered so many devastating legal setbacks, including recent developments. In the long run, this will lead to an increase in crypto entrepreneurship in the US. However, we will dissect this. I should preface this by saying that I am not providing financial advice and that I do not have any sort of financial expertise. Furthermore, you should never act on my advice to buy or sell anything. I'm simply a casual YouTuber that enjoys dabbling in cryptocurrency as a pastime. I mean, for the sake of enjoyment, dude. Additionally, you are free to leave at any time if you are unhappy. Alright, let's set the table. You might remember hearing about this earlier this month. Blockworks is where this is from. The Ethereum Studio consensus inquiry has been dropped by SEC. Because there are some people out there who are conspiracy theorists, I will simply set the table here. Let's end this foolishness. No shadow or lizard people are expertly acting out a plot. These powerful individuals are completely dim-witted. To be honest, most of them are sociopaths or narcissists. The truth is, they don't know any more than you do. In your perception, they are not bright. In fact, they are too naive to be so. Their actions unscripted are purely motivated by self-interest. Plus everything that protects their pride against a fall in self-esteem. They are acting in that manner. They lack magical abilities. Of course, the document in question informs consensus that they are about to be sued, as the SEC sent a Wells warning. Also, the political tides turned, and the notice asserted that ETH was a security in and of itself. This is something we've been discussing in passing. In May, things began to change politically as we entered election season. The White House's stance on cryptocurrency began to soften, at least in terms of its lip respect to the crypto community. The word that the SEC needed to approve the spot ETF again, during election season, probably reached Kim Jong-Gensler. Furthermore, it is what they accomplished. After sending out the Wells notice, they reluctantly accepted it. After the SEC approved the spot ETF, it became untenable for the SEC to sue the SU consensus for those particular reasons. In other words, they were going public with the date and the announcement that the inquiry was being abandoned since, well, it was a Wells. It should be noted that the case had not yet been filed. It was inevitable, even if not expected. While they did publicly announce this in their letter, they also made it plain that consensus was not absolved. Plus, they were solely dropping charges related to this particular investigation. That didn't mean charges could or wouldn't occur in the future. I also forewarned you about that. You have no idea that XRP community member and lawyer Fred Rispoli was the most outspoken about it. I agree with him, and he was correct. Just because there is more animosity in certain posts doesn't mean there can't be other lawsuits. Indeed, that was accurate. Not only that, but everyone else had agreed. Furthermore, after receiving the Wells notice, the consensus decided to proactively sue the SEC. Although this did not happen, the consensus publicly stated that they would not drop the lawsuit against the SEC, even after the SEC stopped investigating them. What thus transpires today? Recently, we learned that the SEC is suing consensus for several reasons. And then it's obvious that they're feeling extremely buttered about the whole thing. What do you think of Kim Jong-un's stated intention to keep battling cryptocurrency in any method the current regime permits? Obviously, they won't do it with the ETF. Based on the real story I just told you, or on their meticulous scripting, these folks are very intelligent. I know it sounds like they're a group of clumsy, unintelligent, bespectacled individuals, but these are things they didn't write. Every person has their own unique set of reasons for being here. In the end, they aim to be awful human beings. This is where it remains intact. Nothing reptile-related is happening. This headline is the result. Consensus, SEC takes legal action against brokerage staking service provider, MetaMasks. Without further ado, let's dive into the Supreme Court verdict. That bodes well for crypto investors, but ill for the SEC. View this now. A complaint has been launched against Consensus, the parent company of MetaMask, by the United States Securities and Exchange Commission. If the consensus was unchangeable, then why is this taking place, everyone? It bears repeating, various individuals act for various reasons. Gary Gensler falls in line when he has to, but that's about it. Other than that, he wants to keep trolling crypto because, he's a sociopath with a big ego who doesn't like losing, no matter how embarrassing it is. And he's been losing a lot recently. Do you realize this? Peace remains, however. A complaint filed on June 28 states that the company has been selling securities through MetaMask swaps without registration since 2020 and is acting as an unregistered broker. By providing staking services and brokering crypto asset transactions without appropriate registration, Consensus allegedly earned over $250 million in fees, robbing investors of vital protections, according to the complaint. In light of these purported infractions of federal securities laws, the SEC is pursuing equitable remedy, civil penalties, and a permanent injunction against Consensus. So, my friends, if they were really as closely coordinated as some have said, in conspiracy theory terms, this wouldn't be happening. After making concessions where necessary in response to administration demands, the SEC moved on to other matters. I'm a little taken aback. As metal law specialist and attorney James Murphy put it, degenerate gamblers double down when they're losing. Regarding the current situation, he mentioned that the SEC lawsuit that can be filed against Consensus today centers on MetaMask, staking, and swaps, and he then linked this post. Following in the footsteps of the case Consensus against the SEC in Texas, the complaint asserts that these tokens are crypto assets, securities, and CHC Lunamatic Mana, and we will return to the reasons why the SEC cannot do that. Based on what I've learned from several lawyers, I'm going to highlight this as a positive development in light of the recent Supreme Court verdict. In other words, it's robbing the SEC of the authority it claimed to have, even though it never actually had it. You will, however, get a point along those lines. It means a lot to me that you've subscribed and watched my channel. Later, I will see you.